been out of town for a few days, and I've been sitting on this story for a minute, and it was going to be a podcast rant, but I've come to realize that it's going to be a little bit longer than that, and it's probably going to end up being story time, and whatever that means to you, I don't know. I initially wasn't even going to tell the story because it was so embarrassing and so bad and so infuriating that, I couldn't even believe I put myself in this position. And so let's just get into it. The John 1911 Armory has been around in one form or another for a very long time. And, we know quite a few people, professionally and personally. And when we built our facility, our shooting facility, we started getting, as per normal, requests from people, hey, dude, can you shoot at our gun? Can we shoot at your gun range? Can we come and do this? And it's like, no, it's not what it is. No offense, not for anybody out there, but it's not meant for, happy time for the local yokels. Okay. That's not what it's about. There's plenty of places in the world to go shoot guns, and our property isn't one of them. And I know what that sounds like to the listener at home, but you have to understand, we built this range to be available for our uses at any time. So we can't be, the whole point of having a range is it's never busy. At any time we can go out there and do whatever we want. So, but I broke the rule, and I really put myself in a pickle over it, and probably damaged a friendship in the process. So here's what happened. A good friend reaches out, and he's wanting to know if he could bring a very important person to him by. Without getting in too many details, these people are basically politicians, so I don't want to go into it any more than that. And this other person is important to him, and this other person, politician, has been telling everybody how he's a Marine and he's a really good shooter and he's a gun guy. And I've been hearing in all the stories, I was even hearing about how he, quote, really likes to take those long shots, unquote. And all of these intimations that this person is an experienced and skilled shooter. And it was put forward to us that, this guy would like to come out and maybe zero some guns for hunting season. I get, deer season was coming up. And against my better judgment, I'm like, sure. So they get to come over, and I'm already there. And since, politicians, friend, the one guy's this, badass Marine, second coming of Carlos Hathcock, I don't even hover. I'm like, hey, you know what? Do what you're going to do. Go down to the 100 yards. It's all good. You're big boys here. You don't need me to, tell you what to do. Again, we don't run a public gun range, and so we don't need range safety officers. So there's good and bad with that. So I'm over doing some stuff, and I'm watching this guy shoot, the politician friend, and he's got a couple rifles. There's a 6.5 Creedmoor and a 4.58 SOCOM, which I believe is legal for deer. And I'm trying not to look, and I'm trying not to hover, because I don't want to be that guy. And this person is having some trouble. Guns aren't really working. I guess he's trying to get his stuff zeroed, and at 100 yards, he's high. Like, what's high? Like 2 feet high. There's nothing wrong with being 2 feet high. But, in my world, you're 2 feet high once, and then you adjust, especially if it's a, new gun, new mount, new rings, new scope, new whatever, new year, new me, whatever, new gun, you gotta build the relationship. But this is going on, and I'm kind of mosey on over there, and I'm kind of trying to maybe, hey, you want me to call some corrections for you? And sure, so I get out I start calling some corrections, and I'm asking him is he in Mills or MOA? And he doesn't really know. And, you know, I'm like, well, you know, looking at the stuff, and there's, you know, don't even know what the you know, what the units of adjustment are. That's fine, you know, it's fine. You know, new gun, new scope, new whatever. You know, people just like to throw stuff on and, you know, shoot. I'm not really thinking too much about it. And he's having some trouble even with my very good corrections. And, you know, just giving him basic inches, you know, it's like, hey, you know, give me this correction. And I just start giving it to him in clicks. Give me a bunch, you know, give me 10 clicks. And it's still a mess. So I'm starting, hey, let me look at your gun for a minute. And so the first gun, the 6.5 Creedmoor bolt action rifle with a variable power optic on it, there's all kinds of problems. And the number one thing I noticed right off the bat is his cheap scope rings. And again, I'm not trying to be that guy. You know, I don't care if you've got, you know, cheap glass and cheap rings on a cheap gun, because, you know, what the hell? It's a deer gun. I mean, you know, east of the Mississippi, you're going to shoot what? Max a long shot, 75 yards. Well, for this guy, it was going to be a long shot. There were screws and bolts missing in his rings. And I'm like, you know, it's the Scooby-Doo voice in my head, ruh-roh. So I'm like, hey, you know, hey, looks like we're going to have some issues here. And so I'm like, you know, is this like this? Who installed it? And I think he even said somebody else installed this. The gun store or something installed this. And at this point, I'm like, all right, I'm full into this now. I'm going to have to get involved. And so I get the gun. He doesn't have extra screws. There's nothing I can do about it. Deer season's coming. I get him to where he could kill a minute of deer at 100 yards or in, and, you know, all's good, right? So, you know, hey, you know, whatever, no big deal. And so then he's like, he pulls out his 458 Bushmaster AR pattern gun, and immediately I'm like, oh, go ahead, let me call the corrections. I don't have any experience with 458, you know, kind of curious. Same problems. Way off, like many feet off at 100 yards. And so, you know, he gets a couple shots, same thing. We don't know the adjustments. I'm like, have you ever shot this gun before? You know, he shot this gun. This is his gun. I start looking at the gun, and it's a red dot, and it's moving around backwards and forwards in the Picatinny rail, the pick rail up top, the top rail. And it's like, holy shit. So, I'm, you know, real quiet now. At this point, I'm trying to talk to the guy, and I don't want to make a big scene because his friend and my friend are both there. And it's just like, you know, real quiet, like, hey, you know, looks like this is loose. What you need to do, I recommend, is when you're putting stuff on pick rails, it's, you know, basic recoil physics. You know, push the pick rail forward, and that way the gun recoils back, and the recoil won't make your mounts loose. It'll hold them in place. And he looks at me and he goes, well, you know, I haven't really shot, you know, anything like any kind of guns or any real experience with this stuff since boot camp in, like, I don't know what he said, 1980 or 81 or 82 or 84. And, you know, it's like, okay, let me get this. Nope, no big deal. I poker face, no big deal. Look, I'm here to help. You're here. We're here. Let's get through it together. We're in this together now. And get it all square. I have to mount the scope, mount the red dot, fix that. Then we're shooting this 458, and it's not feeding. And, you know, I'm like, let me take a look at this gun for a minute. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, because, you know, this looks like some kind of put together gun. And I pull the magazine out, and I'm looking at the front of it. And I didn't know this. Again, if you're at home and you know what's coming, if you're a 458 guy, I get it. But, you know, this on top of everything, pull the mag out, 5.56 pattern AR-15 magazine, and it looks like the front the front of the magazine the end of it had been bitten off by a shark. And I am not exaggerating. I'm like, what the hell is this? And apparently what you need to do is you need to get 458 to feed. Makes sense, logically. He goes, you gotta hog out the front of the mag to get the big round to feed. So you hog them out. And then he says, well, I've got another mag at home that's much better than this one. So it works better than this. And I'm thinking, well, why the hell did you show up at my range with this magazine? So, but I didn't say it, it's no big deal. And I'm not mad. I guess I'm never mad. Getting them all squared away, both guns, if he wants to shoot them, he can shoot a deer at 100 yards and he can get his minute of deer. He's going to make deer gun season in a few days, and all is going to be good. He's happy. My friend's happy. The politicians are happy. John 911 Armory's happy. No big deal. And, I'm talking to his friend, and we're kind of chit-chatting for a minute, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, Mr. Buddy, who likes to take long shots, he's a Marine, he's picked up the 6.5 Creedmoor rifle, missing screws from the rings, and he's looking at the farthest impact zone where he was sitting at 500 yards, and he's getting ready to lift his rifle to shoot at the 500 yard steel. Now this guy, let's review. He doesn't know the adjustments on his gun. He doesn't know whether it's in mils or MOA. He literally doesn't know the turret adjustments. There's no way he knows what the reticles are of these things. There's no way. And I go, hey, what are you doing? And it was a little bit more concerning. He goes, I'm going to take a shot out to 500 yards. And now I have to say this in front of his buddy because I'm talking to our friend. And I go, oh, no, you are not. We do not take shots here at the John 1911 range. We make shots. You are not qualified to take any shot out there. Because if you miss that berm and you miss that impact zone, and you sit around off this property, we are all going to jail. Let me just catch my emotions for a minute. And I could tell, I kind of dumped on him a little bit, but I had to. Dude was about to pick up a gun and fire it like William Tell through the air without any idea where this thing is going to land. And, I guess he was thinking he was going to spot the impacts out there. Okay, so what's the lesson here? He is a guy, look, gun guys do this. This happens at every public gun range in America. It especially happens at gun ranges where there's a guy and a girl or a husband and a wife or the guy's got to have all the answers and the girl, she doesn't know anything and, he's the boss and he knows guns and she doesn't. And the reality is it's a clusterfuck. He doesn't know anything either. He thinks he does, but he doesn't. And I put myself in this position and I had to offend the man. I had to embarrass him in front of my friend. And the more I thought about it after they left, the more peeved I got, because I'm not mad at the guy because he's been going through life telling everybody he's a Marine and he's every Marine a rifleman, and he's been living off that legacy his whole life, and he's really not an accomplished shooter. Shooting is a perishable skill. If you shot iron sights in 1984 on a known distance range with a gun that was basically set up for you by a primary marksmanship instructor at Paris Island, a sniper that does not make. And I should have known better. I was mad at myself. I should have found a way to bow out of this. And instead, I can tell it's subsequently become obvious that that relationship with this person has been damaged. And his friend, the other politician, is probably embarrassed. And what's the typical guy response to being embarrassed? I wouldn't be at all shocked. As a matter of fact, I expect it to be true that once time has passed, I will be the bad guy. It'll be my fault. It'll be my problem. It'll be everything is on my shoulders, not the shooter's shoulders. So what's the lesson? Go through life, try to be real. If you're going through life and haven't been real in the past, you know what? That's okay. Starting tomorrow, quietly just start rolling some of it back. Whenever you get the opportunity, just start practicing and saying, hey, I don't know. Or hey, can you help me? Or hey, here's a big one. I don't understand. Can you explain it again? Or hey, can you show me? It's all right. Albert Einstein once said when he was talking to somebody, excuse me, could you please explain that again? New ideas come to me slowly. If Albert Einstein needs it explained twice, it's okay if you don't understand everything. Because next time, you may not have in my wherewithal to catch you picking up that rifle and about to send a round into Lord knows what territory, and somebody gets injured. And if you think it doesn't happen, all you have to do is read the news and police blotters every day. Thus ends the story. Never again. Private property, private facility. If you're not a cop, you don't carry a badge and a gun for a living, or you don't work at the John 1911 Armory, you are not invited. Sorry.